Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick with herbal411.com and I wanted to post a freestyle video again, so unedited, about hiking. I did one yesterday about fasting and its dynamics and how useful it is for losing weight, maybe lowering insulin levels and getting rid of your cholesterol, but also my feeling of fasting with regards to spirituality and a reset of sorts twice a year. I run these things called Dr. Rick hiking excursions. I'll put a link down below for the Facebook page. And it's essentially started back in 2011 when I got tired of postponing my goals. So I considered myself an athlete back then as far as hiking or exercise, martial arts, rock climbing, and I wanted to do El Capitan when I turned 40. That's one of the most iconic places in Yosemite, and it came and went, unfortunately. So at that point in time, I just decided to set a goal, keep myself accountable with big endeavors. I've done a marathon twice, done other things, triathlons, and they're cool, but the training is boring to me and gets me across the finish line, but I thought I need something cooler. So I hated nature before, but I found the beauty of hiking. Actually, it was my last marathon. I had a severe expression of iliotibial band syndrome at about 13 miles. I had to walk the rest, 13 miles of walking. And actually it was very, very cool. Saying hello to everybody, talking with a couple of other injured marathoners. And from that point on, I decided I'm not gonna run anymore. I'm just gonna slow it down and still get the beauty of this thing, nature, meaning. So I started in 2011 with a summit, or a goal to get to Half Dome. Look up Half Dome. I think I have a video back then. I'll put a link down below. It's pretty cool. But I trained for it probably about 9 months. And it's not that bad. It's about an 8,000 foot climb along this marble rock face. And you have to use cables or something called a via ferrata, which in Italian means iron staircase, I believe. And that's nerve-wracking. I'll tell you about that story in a second, but it gave me a destination, a goal, a summit of sorts, and I loved it. I mean, it's not just the 8,000 foot climb. You got to get from Yosemite camp, the valley, to Half Dome, which is, I think it's like 12 miles. I don't remember, it's been a long time, but I trained for it. I got it. This is how I'll tell you. When you get to the base of the slab, it's a rock face that's just slick on both sides. There's a pathway that goes straight to the top of Half Dome. And because people have been doing it for hundreds of years, they made it a little bit safer by drilling holes into the marble and putting metal poles, a little tiny 2x4 planks across 2 metal poles, all the way up to the top with a steel cable that's like that thick that you can hold on to get to the top. Now, as you get to the base, you have to have a permit. So some people just decide to go there and try to get around the forest ranger, but gotta wait till it's like nightfall or till it's about to rain. And you don't want to be on marble with steel when it rains and thunders with lightning. So I got to that point, and it's really about a 30-degree incline all the way to the top. It's not that long, but it seems like it takes forever because you're white knuckling it all the way up. I had gear, I had a helmet, I had everything. I even had a clip in, and most of us would slowly ascend. And you'd see these guys coming back down, not holding the cable. I'm wondering what the heck, they're reckless. So I think going up, you'll have fight or flight, stress response. That's adrenaline, epinephrine, and all those hormones that get you to fight, flee, or freeze. That's a natural human reaction. But then you get to the top and you just see the majesty of Yosemite, because you can see Yosemite from the other side. Going into Yosemite is like two ways. One of them is through the tunnel, where you get through the tunnel and you just see the valley open up and you see Half Dome at the other end of the valley. When you get on top of Half Dome, you can see it backwards. And it's just, I can't explain it, but it seems to be not just that climb, but also every summit that I've done since 2011. And I've made it from that point on project to be picking a summit, a bucket list summit. But back to my fight or flight thing. Staying up, I took some pictures, took some video, sent it to my wife. I don't think I got reception up there, but I just recorded it. And then going down, I decided to go down because I saw clouds coming. And if you've ever visited my website, herbal411.com, the picture is of, I asked a guy to take a picture of me on the edge of Half Dome. That's me doing a yoga pose. And so that's real. And I was at the edge, 8,000 feet up in the air. On the other side was nothing. So regardless, going down, because I felt so good, just like everybody else, then I understood we all at the top that made the summit felt pristine, serene. There was oxytocin, serotonin that was just abounding. And you can't have both fight or flight hormones and love response hormones occur at the same time. You can't. You have to one or the other. That's the way humans are built. So if you have an overwhelming amount of adrenaline, that's the dominant feeling for that amount of time. And those of you who have anxiety, you're going to be in that 24/7, which is not healthy. It'll get you out of fight or flight, but it also screws up digestion, turns off gonads. You can't have babies. You can't really think or problem solve. You can get yourself out of a fight and run from a fire, but you can't problem solve. You can't, the memory is short. The heart will go really rapidly fast, quickly. That's just the fight or flight response to get you out of danger. The love response is totally different. That's the opposite. It's supposed to be procreation, deep sleep, digestion, everything you can't get with the stress response. So the idea is that as I came down from the summit, there was I didn't even have to hold the cables, and I was seeing the valley and the fall off of the marble. Going up, at least you look straight up and you just don't look up to the sides and you hope that you're not going to fall. Going down, it's like, I love this place. I was actually going outside the cables, like most of the other crazy guys that I was thinking coming down or going up. So that's just a demonstration of what happens, I think, when you get to a summit. When you get to an area that, in nature especially, that makes you turn off all the crap, all the materialistic stuff that we've accumulated, all the duties, the scheduling. I mean, especially if you're a small business owner, you have to keep everything, it seems like you have to always keep engaged. I think those of you who have stocks, you have to always check. You've been told by your broker, check every morning, check every hour, especially if there's a sale or some buyout. So you become engrossed and I think imprisoned by the internet, by these obligations. And sometimes if you just take on massive amounts of obligations, there's nothing else, there's no other time during the day to experience unplugging. And unplugging can be from the internet and social media, but unplugging should be also defined as getting out to nature, seeing the sun, hearing birds and nature at its majesty, getting on a boat and being in the water. All those things can really work just as well, I think, if they're done regularly and properly, as medicine. And it's just a shame because there are some randomized controlled trials now of how nature therapy takes care of inflammation, calms down blood pressure, slows down pulse rate, gets you a good sleep. It's all proven now, just by default. People who question, why do I have to do it? Now you have proof, but it's still a tough sell. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. I did a video yesterday on fasting and broke it down into its spiritual aspects and also its practical aspects. Freestyle. Check it out. I'll put a link down below. Today I want to talk about hiking, more pilgrimage. So this isn't something new. Pilgrimage is like a spiritual pilgrimage is usually like you'll hear about them with Muslims going to Mecca, or Jewish folks going to the Western Wall, Catholics going to Jerusalem or the Vatican. It's a religious pilgrimage, but it's a time to find yourself, a time to disconnect and just try to ground again. Because it's hard when you have all the interfering ideas, it's hard to remember what your purpose in life is. Are you supposed to be a father? Are you doing a good job? Are you doing your best? Are you doing a good job as a husband, a wife, a spouse? Are you helping your community? Are you connecting with your upper source? Now, I'm Catholic, and I have throughout the years kind of coached it away from going to church every day and praying, but I think that hopefully he forgives me, but the idea is it'll always be in my nature to reflect back because of what my parents taught me. Went to church every Sunday, did the rosary as a family, and I thought that was really boring, but now I rely on it to get to sleep. And I think everybody has their form of spirituality. You don't have to join a religion, but if you don't have any spirituality and you weren't raised in a religious home, you might want to seek or research different religions, because there's a template in most religions on developing and fine-tuning your spirituality or your connection with a higher source. Sometimes, just like in a yoga class, I'll use that as an example. In a yoga class, if you're not flexible, especially like guys, you can go to yoga class just to listen to the instructor, sit in the back, and take something called child's pose. I had, when I taught yoga at Northwest Community Hospital, I taught yoga in like 2013 or so. One class, it was a full one. I remember this big football player came in, and he's like 270 pounds. I'm wondering, okay, this is gonna be tough. I didn't think he'd be able to do any of my poses, but I found him just staying in the easiest pose he could do. And I honored that. And then towards the end of the class, I could hear him sobbing. And I thought, oh, there's something wrong. So, I mean, suffice it to say, there's more to that story, but he just listened. He didn't do any poses. He just listened and took the energy of the entire class, the community of the class, to heal up. Most people who practice yoga will have a great feeling afterward, almost like my excursion participants. When we get back from summit, everybody's just pictures and talking to family. This is great, and it's nothing more rewarding than a guide that sees the faces and the smiles after we hit summit. It's rewarding to me because I'm at the summit of a bucket lister, and it's also rewarding to me when I see that from other people. Just because if they haven't found themselves, then sometimes I give them the opportunity to find themselves. And that's such a privilege for me to be involved. And I mean, I'm a physician, I have to serve the greater good. And I think that if I can do it in the office, fine. If I can do it to the masses, like with YouTube or with an excursion team, even better. So back to my idea. A pilgrimage or being on a journey has been available for thousands of years. Again, with those trips to Mecca, Western Wall, Jerusalem. But so it's nothing new. Just like fasting, it's been engaged for thousands of years, and there's benefits to it. So even without randomized controlled trials, the people from way back when knew how to do things to heal. So it's important to always try to get a little bit of neutralization, turn up the stress response. And if you can't do it on your own, or you're only doing it with medicines and therapy is very important. I have my therapist too. Then an easy fix is to get out to nature. I mean, look at this. This is Mallard Lake near my house, near my old office in Bartlett. And I just did 5 miles. And I'm gonna go head back. It's Palm Sunday, so we'll go to church and might see my grandson today or tomorrow. But I think it's nice because when I take people out on a healthy pilgrimage, I'll pick a destination, like my 2011 Half Dome destination, and I'll set it as a bucket list so it attracts me. But I want to get these things every year too. This year is supposed to be Everest in my 60th year. I'll figure it out when I'm going to do it, and I'll post the hell out of my trip. But if I can inspire anybody else to do that, then fine. But the idea would be, if I have a goal that I present to somebody, it makes them obliged. I don't charge anything on my excursions, but I do expect you'll train by getting out. And there's the hook. I think just by getting out, especially if we train with hikes locally for 8 miles, if I can get my folks to train, they'll get healthy, they'll start to feel healthy, they'll get the taste of nature, and they'll probably attain a goal by getting to summit. And that might make the change that flips them into a better lifestyle. I hope and pray that happens. If it doesn't, I'll have another excursion and I'll do it again. So even if it's not a spiritual thing, it's just a healthy thing, it'll get people off the couch and to disconnect. We have all been stuck inside. There's some positives with internet. I like my virtual consults that I do now. It's a little easier, and I can touch more lives outside the US, outside Illinois, as far as coaching. In Illinois, I can be their doctors, but just because of licensing, but when I can effectively heal more people than before, better. So it's kind of worked out, but I've heard there's some doctors that are gaslighting now and just belittling people because there's no time, and that's just wrong. But that'll be a different video. So, and this is how I neutralize the stress of being in a world of medicine that's based on insurance and a whole bunch of roadblocks, and I accept that as my cross to bear. And that's okay. If that's what I have to bear, I'll do it, as long as I have the strength of the big guy putting it here and giving me energy every day. And this is how I recharge my energy. So hopefully that gives you a little idea about maybe getting out to nature, setting up your own hike or pilgrimage of sorts. I mean, there's one that's very popular. There's a movie called The Way by Emilio Estevez and his father, Martin Sheen. Really cool. Talks about the trail of St. James and the Compostela, Santiago. I forgot what it's called. There's a 500-mile journey from France to Spain that follows the trail of St. James, one of the apostles. And people take that, the Camino de Santiago, and people take that all the time. Pilgrims, they're called, to find themselves and to be in touch with their spirit. I mean, you can do that here in the U.S. with Labyrinth, with hiking excursions, with I think the way you can do it with the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Coast. There's other places you can find locally, probably that are shorter. But bottom line is, in Illinois especially, we have a lot of forest preserves. Get out. If you can't, or if you feel uncomfortable getting out on your own, join me on one of my hikes, but you'll have to get on Facebook and sign up as a member of the Dr. Rick Hiking Excursions, or go to herbal411.com, and I usually have I'm going to have get-togethers talking about health and healing and maybe hiking, or natural ways to fix stuff, which will probably include a hike here and there, but it depends. I think that again, if we all share the same ideas and maybe expound upon them, even if, like that yoga class, even if you don't feel like hiking, you don't like nature, just being in a group and being on a destination, or in a hike to get to destination, we'll all share stuff. And sometimes I consider it like a walking consult or a walking lecture, because people will have stuff that they want to talk about. They want me to explain things, or some people just need to get things off their chest. regardless, if we can get to the point where all of us as a group heal together, that is community. So hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas about maybe getting out to nature. This is Mallard Lake. I'm about to finish my hike and get ready for church. I think it's important to do this, just like medicine, at least once a week. It takes a little bit of time to, sorry for the plane, we're under the pathway of the plane's going to O'Hare, but I can drown that out because it's so powerful. Nature's so powerful that doesn't bother me. So put your comments down below on any pilgrimage that you might have taken or a big bucket list that you might have done in the US. I have other ones that we're going to be doing. Colorado has always been my go-to for 14ers, but there's Arizona, there's the AT that I'm going to be doing, a whole bunch of stuff. In my 60th year, I'll be hitting some slower, easier hikes. So if you can't go, then just watch. If you don't have a place that you can hike at, or if you're handicapped or have a disability, just pick a spot in your house or in your yard, face the right way, sunrise, sunset, and just reflect. So it's Dr. Rick. Thanks for watching up until this point in time. If you have any comments, put them down below. Otherwise, share this with other people who might be a little lost, and I'll see you at the next video.